I'm Cindy Jones.
And I'm Haley Taylor, and we are the founders of a company called Bi-Tapp.
We have created a wearable device that does the bilateral tapping for you, regulating your nervous system in real time, creating a steady state of calm and focus. People of all ages are using the tappers.
We are excited to have people share their stories about how the tappers are benefiting them and their families.
Hi, we would like to thank Sharon for joining us to share how she's using the tappers. Haley, would you like to introduce her?
Yes, I would love to. We'd like to introduce Sharon, who's with us today, who has struggled to drive on the freeway after multiple life-threatening car wrecks. With a new granddaughter an hour away, she tried Bi-Tapp to help her stay calm. Today, we're going to discover how Bi-Tapp made her journeys possible again.
This was probably one of the most frustrating and upsetting things I've had to deal with.
Mm.
I've had multiple car crashes in my life, and two of them have been extremely close. I just want to tell you about one of them. It was my son's birthday, and I was driving on the freeway back from Park City to Salt Lake City, and there's this place from on the freeway where I was already on the freeway, but two different lanes of traffic merge onto that freeway. And I'm just driving along, and this car merging did not see me for whatever reason and just drove straight, well, would have driven straight into the side of my car. So I pulled my car wheel over as fast as I could, and I spun around a complete 360 degrees
My
in
goodness.
the middle of a busy freeway.
Wow.
And the fact that I didn't hit anything and that I didn't die was just really crazy.
Right.
So my body, I can feel it right now, right? My body feels that sense of panic and just frozen fear whenever I get on the freeway to drive anywhere, and that's extremely limiting for me. Especially, I have a son who moved up to Logan, which
How far
is
is
a
that?
90-minute.
Okay.
It's a 90-minute freeway drive, and it goes through a canyon. So, because that last crazy car wreck or almost car wreck was in the middle of a canyon, canyons are extremely difficult for me. I get this sense of panic. I mean, it can be this simple, gentle little curve, that somebody else might slow down 5 miles an hour to get around. And my entire body freezes up. And, they say, take deep breaths or whatever, but it's like you're not able to process that type of rational thought
Right.
when you're in the middle of a freeze,
That's
freeze up
right.
like that. So what I would do is I would literally, I mean, I wanted to stomp on the brake. I knew that would be basically the least safe thing I could do. But I would just have multiple times
Mm.
driving up to see my son just to visit him where I literally was a danger to myself and to the other drivers on the freeway. And it was so frustrating because then my other son had he and his wife had a little baby girl, and I want to go visit my granddaughter. I
Yes,
need
absolutely.
to be able to drive, and they live an hour away on the freeway, and I wanted to go visit them at least once a week and see her and have that regular time with her. And you know, unless it was perfect weather, no rain, no snow, no foggy, nothing. If it was perfect weather and I went really slow on the right-hand side of the freeway, that was the only way I could get there and back. And so I was introduced to the Tappers by Haley and Cindy, and thought, you know what, I'll give them a try. I mean, I didn't really have much of an expectation because I was using them primarily for work purposes. at that time. And so I just put them in my pockets when I was driving, right? So it's that bilateral alternating pulsing rhythm.
Right.
And I did just find that drive. And I thought, I'm just going to keep them with me. And I I remember the first drive that I got startled by a semi truck, and I had that sense of panic where I normally would have seized up
Mm,
and froze. And I could actually just watch myself thinking, oh, my body isn't doing that this time.
that's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it
That's
was
so wonderful.
such a huge relief. And just to have something that you can do to be able to put yourself back in control of your own body. That I never know when I'm going to have those freeze up moments, right?
Mm-mm.
But since the tappers, I don't need them in my hands. I just put them in my pockets. I can drive with them. I can take them everywhere. I can turn them on whenever I need them.
Gives you
I
confidence,
just
right?
don't drive on the freeway without them. I have them on and turned on all the time, so that I'm so that I'm ready.
Well,
So
and
Right.
it makes
feel-
sense, Sharon, because that accident. So if you think about in a trauma, you typically go into fight, flight, or freeze, but in a
Yeah,
car, you
yeah,
can't do the first two things. And so you did
right,
drop into freeze. And so now when you drive, your nervous system wants to keep you safe. And so it's overworking, and
right.
that's what's exhausting. And so what you said makes sense to me that I do think breathing works, but if it gets so heightened, you just can't remember to even take a deep breath and may not be able to. And then the tappers, just with what the research says, just inhibits that limbic system. So it just keeps that thinking brain online. And that's where you're able to say, oh my gosh, I'm able to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Well, and I mean, that line between being able to stay in control enough to
Hmm.
drive the car down the freeway versus to freeze and freak out and not be able to move. Um, for me anyway, it was really thin.
It's a
And
thin line, right?
it is a thin line. And having the tappers gave me enough of a sense of control and calmness over what was happening that even when I was startled and even when I did have a trigger,
Yep.
you know, I was able to keep it in gear. And it's like, wow, this is what most people must feel like every time they're down the
Right. They feel calm.
freeway.
They're not holding on to the
Freaking
steering
out
wheel.
every time.
Yeah. Worrying about being triggered. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
love that too, just because what all three of us know is it's just working in the background. So you're able to go about
right.
focusing on driving, and then you're getting the benefit of the bilateral stimulation. It's just working in the background, and then you're able to say now you're able to drive much easier, would you say?
Well, yeah, there's not a sense of panic. I mean, the panic
Yeah,
would start even just thinking about the drive, right?
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Gearing up for it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, maybe I'll go visit on Saturday when, my husband Rob can drive us down there and
Sure.
back. But yeah, I mean, just to have the sense of freedom again and
Good.
really, autonomy. When
Yeah.
you can't drive yourself on the freeway, it limits an awful lot of, the things you would normally want to do in your life. And yeah, it's just been a huge lifesaver for me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And the other thing you said at the beginning is you were using them for work. And so how else are you using the tappers? So obviously when you're driving, and that's wonderful. We're happy to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes I have a hard time. I'm a writer, so I write for a living. And I'm always on schedule, right? So I don't get to have bad writing days.
Right.
A lot of
It's
pressure.
like,
When they
Yeah.
have
I
to
don't
have
think
it.
I'll show up to work today
Yeah.
and produce anything, right?
Right.
And I can tell when it's going to be, most of the time I have no problem at all settling in and, getting to work and doing my writing. And I do a lot of creative writing, marketing writing. So I have to be creative in my writing,
Mhm.
just as a matter of course. But on those days when I'm fidgety and I can't focus and, I'm having a really difficult time even wanting to stay in my seat for 60 to 90 minutes, that's when I use my tappers for focus. They just steady me. And then it's easier to sit down, clear my head, get started, and then it's like 60 to 90 minutes later and I realize, oh, maybe I should get up and go to the bathroom.
I use them for
It's time to
focus
take a
too.
break. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell a huge difference too. And so when you use them for focus, are you putting them in your pockets or where are you wearing the tappers?
Yeah, I always put them in my pockets. I
Mm.
can't write, I can't type with the
Right,
wristbands.
right. I always put
Um,
them in my socks. It's interesting, but I like them like the inside of my ankles. I have no idea why, but that's where I like it. So, but that's the same thing when you're typing but I do it for focus and we're hearing that a lot in schools now that the kids, their attention span just increases quite dramatically when they have that bilateral stimulation going on in the background. So
that
I
makes
love
a lot of
hearing that.
sense. Yeah.
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 No, that's great.
Yeah. We love that it works for everyday life situations
Mhm.
Yeah.
to just help keep you going when you need it.
Well, we appreciate just your time, and we just want to say thank you for taking the time to share that because both of those examples are really quite remarkable, really.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
you're welcome. It's fun to talk to you today.
Thanks for my tappers. Tappers.
I know, right?
Uh,
Well, we love hearing all these stories about how they help.
Yeah.